You are listening to Geekish Cast, an Astro Panda Production Network's podcast. Welcome back to Geekish Cast. I'm the host, Jeremy, and joining me today is Kimberly Niccole from the web series Sibs. What's happening, Kimberly?
Hi, thanks for having me again, Jeremy.
Well, thank you. Just let anybody know, we were kind of having a Skype issue because Skype hates puppies and love for some reason. I don't know why. But who doesn't hate puppies and love is this young lady that we're speaking to right now. Kimberly, why don't you tell us real quick about your web series Sibs, and then I'll dig into your past and see if there's something we can make fun of you for.
Awesome, I'm sure there is. So Sibs is a web-based serial comedy that features me and my brother in real life, and we created these characters that are absolutely ridiculous, live in a ridiculous world, and have themes of sibling rivalry and just kind of braving the world with your sib.
Awesome. I think most of us know what that is like, but some of us also don't get along with our siblings so well. But that kind of reflects in your show a little bit because you do punch your brother an awful lot.
I do.
Yeah.
Well, I do. We used to do these videos all the time where we would kind of just get together and do really short videos that would just all end in me accidentally punching my brother in the face or accidentally kicking him in the head. And so that's kind of where we started with this whole thing, was just that those crazy things that you would do with your sibling most of the time if it's a decent relationship. You just do weird things with your sib, and it doesn't matter whether you're 12 or 50.
Yeah.
You just act weird with your sibling.
My younger brother and I, and there's a pretty good age difference between us, but when we're together and we're both, quote unquote on, we can rattle off some of the goofiest shit and get laughs from people standing next to us in line or behind us at a bar or whatever. I appreciate that kind of humor. I can definitely see elements of many relationships between a sibling or two siblings that I see in your show. I was trying to figure out a good way to describe it to somebody this morning, and I was like, how you can just really, hate your sibling and want to punch them or throw a drink in their face? It's that, but funny. How would you describe it?
It's that still but okay. It's Brian and I definitely we say you love your sibling, but sometimes you want to punch him in the kidney.
Mm-hmm.
That's and that's how we made this show, and that's how we get along as human beings, and that's kind of the crux of it, is that in the show it really does become these two characters against the world, even though the entire show consists of me and Brian. We do all the voiceovers. Really anyone who comes into contact with us kind of hates us, including our parents and our family. So it just becomes us against the world, and what can we accomplish? And in the beginning of the series, we kind of had themes of sibling rivalry and just things that would be kind of universal to people who have siblings. And then as we moved on through this season, it became more about unleashing this crazy world and every crazy thought we had in our head.
Oh, sure.
For season 1. Yeah.
Well, let's do this real quick, just so people who haven't seen it yet. Where can people find your web series at?
You can find our web series. Our entire first season is on YouTube, and you can find us at youtube.com/Sibs web series. And then we have a website as well, which is sibsthewebseries.com. You can watch all of the episodes there as well. It lives on YouTube, and then social media pretty much everywhere. We're Sibs Web Series.
Very good. Let's go ahead and dig into your past a little bit so I can kind of understand the fevered mind from which this series sprung. But
Sorry.
you cracked me up, but your characters are kind of just goofy and non sequitur, at least to start with in this show, which is a humor form I love. But it does make me question, make me want to ask more about you guys. I need to know more about the people that created this series. So, Kimberly, tell me about like when you started getting into creative stuff when you were young, and how that or where that turned into like deciding to go into acting or filmmaking or however you went about that.
Yeah, I think as a kid, like I think I first I tried to be like kind of artistic. Like my younger brother Brian, like he's an incredible artist. Like he can that kid draws like nothing else. I struggled to kind of find where I was going to be creative. I was horrible at art. Can't draw straight lines. Can't draw crooked lines. Wasn't even allowed to really do the same art projects as the kids because I was just so messy and so just all over the place. So I thought, let's try sports. That was, my next go at it was I tried every different sport imaginable. Got kicked out of gymnastics because I was too rambunctious. You really didn't figure anything out until you got into acting, which probably happened around high school. And I just kind of accidentally fell into that, and that's where I belonged.
Okay.
Those were my people.
Did you just wander into acting class one day, or was there a role you were going for? Do you remember what happened?
I think you had to take an elective, and I looked at all of them, and I was like, acting, that sounds like it won't suck, and then I just kind of never left. I just kind of never left that space. So that's where I kind of found where I fit in, which it took me until, maybe high school to find where I thought I was going to fit in.
So did you stick with acting? I mean, kind of walk me through the next couple of years of your life. You discovered acting in high school. Where did you go from there?
Yeah, so I started in high school. I did, just plays and competitions and what you do when you're there. And when I graduated, I decided that, I wanted to come back to LA. I'm originally from LA. We kind of moved all around as kids. So I came back here and I went to conservatory. I went to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts West. And I did their full program and their company season. And I graduated with honors from that school. And then, it was, time to try to make a living. And so I went the classical training route. Brian has much more of a, Brian just started working. So we have different backgrounds for sure.
So you're one of those actors, with the emphasis on the ending part of the word then.
Oh man, I just cringed a little bit when you said that.
Sorry.
That's just my background. But when I think about actors and people, it's just that's kind of scares me. But that's just where I came from, and it definitely it wasn't really until I got into marketing and social media marketing later, which is most of my business now. That I kind of got what the pieces that I was missing while I was acting a lot, doing mostly commercials and independents. So yeah.
Okay. Well, no, that makes perfect sense. One time I interviewed an actor from one of my favorite shows, and the guy played a really goofy and weird character. And then he turned out to be one of the first Native American actors to graduate from a prestigious theater program and this, that, and the other. And I'm like, oh, so all these dick jokes I was going to ask are kind of out the window now, huh? And he's like, yep, pretty much. And I'm like, okay, we'll move on to something else.
No, I still love fart jokes and poop jokes.
Awesome.
That's where my classical training has taken me. Fart jokes and poop jokes.
Hey, that's yeah. Well, what is older than farts and poops? They had to be there before theater, right?
What came first?
Yeah. Pretending like you smelled a fart or pretending like you didn't.
Like you did.
Oh, sorry. I made myself laugh. Everybody, sorry about that. So after you come out of that program, so you were doing more serious stuff before you got in your more comedic bent. I am taking it. But you But you also got into online marketing and stuff. So just give me an idea real quick, because your show kind of requires social media and stuff for the premise to work. So how did you get into that?
I think I used to know someone very well, who did a lot of marketing and stuff, and I was kind of looking for something, to do, and I started doing a lot of like social media, mainly management and stuff for some companies, and we kind of started a business together, and that became like my focus for the last like couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I kind of spent like a lot of time there. I'm still there, but like I finally have kind of reached the point where I'm like, okay, let's take a breath and like, let's, make sure that we have this creative life. Because that's where I come from, and that's where I really resonate with.
No, that makes perfect sense, because like I dabble, I draw, I make 3D graphics and assets, but the podcast has become my number one creative outlet. So when I'm not doing my actual job and when I'm just goofing off, this is kind of like where all of my creative energy goes. And without it, right now, I wouldn't really have a place to blow steam off from. Is that kind of what you see creative stuff as now?
Absolutely. I mean, like I'm also like, really taking a go at it and,
Mm-hmm.
Ready to stand up and say I'm here. There was also some circumstances that just kind of put me in a place to like, for a little bit, that like had me just kind of put my hand down and want me to, to say like, I'm not here right now.
Mm-hmm.
And, then, it all came back and it's fine. And now like I'm ready to raise my hand and be like, hey, I'm here. And put my own stuff out there.
Okay, cool.
So yeah.
Yeah, I get that. Now, we talked a little bit before, and again, if I jump around or if I can't remember if we just recorded it or if it was from earlier, forgive me, everybody. But you said you also had an improv background. Yes?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, I think I started in kind of like sketch comedy. I moved to like stand-up, which I can only really say that I dabbled in and did not love that world. It wasn't for me. And then I moved to improv. Did a couple years with UCB, and that kind of became my love. So like Sibs season 1 is an improv show.
Mm-hmm.
So we have a very structured improv is what we have. So we know what we're going to do. We know where we're going to do it. And then we also shot everything in 24 hours, edited and released everything in 24 hours. So that became the need for like improv, became pretty real for us, the way that we ran season 1.
Okay. So you must have known that I was going to ask if you wrote the first season or if you just kind of went, hey, here's the things we're going to accomplish, and then tackled it.
We kind of sat down and we wrote a treatment, and then rather than try to write full episodes, we decided to kind of stick with our strengths. And plus, also Brian and I really trust each other, and we work well off the cuff together. So that was we just decided that we would stick with the improv, but it needed to be extremely structured. So, and then we obviously had times when, because we also ran week to week. So we released 13 episodes in 13 weeks, which I would not like to do again. But it was awesome, and it was fun, and it was a journey. But it put the emphasis on being able to like solve situations that, having a show that happens in 24 hours. We can't wait for the light.
Oh, sure.
In episode 2, we had kind of written a very different episode structure, which is when the unicorn frappuccino came out.
I'm sorry. Yeah.
When the Starbucks unicorn frappuccino came out, we sort of expected that to go a completely different way. And the way that it went is we couldn't find the last friggin' unicorn frappuccino in the world for real. So like it just kind of pushed us to kind of have to sort of like fix things on the fly, or have to like turn turn a corner and sort of make it something else, running it that way rather than trying to make it, you know, as strict as possible. This is what must happen, because in 24 hours there's just too many variables for everything to go the way you want.
Yeah. Now, did you find with that episode, did you find having a wrench thrown in the works, did that kind of like sharpen your sense of humor, since you had to, hey, this is just the way it's going to break, now we got to deal with it? Did you find yourself kind of able to, because you were put into such a hard position, actually able to channel that into something more creative and edgier, or more creative and sharper than what you were shooting for originally?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I think we kind of realized right away that we were like, all right, it kind of gave us the freedom to be like, all right, well, now, like, we can just go a little nuts, you know, as opposed to it must be this, you know, like, it gave us the freedom to kind of break away from that and be like, all right, we just need to have a little fun and it'll be fine. So, but in terms of like being flexible, yeah, that helped a lot.
Yeah.
Because that stuff happened all throughout, yeah.
Well, I was also going to ask, let me ask you real quick, what did you shoot it on? What did you use as a camera?
Our season 1 was shot entirely on iPhone 7 Plus.
Okay. And was your sound done through that as well, or how did you do the sound on it?
We shot, edited, and released all on the iPhone.
That's amazing to me that can be done.
Literally everything, with the exception of like when we get to like episode 9, 10, and beyond, we did have like, you know, special effects that needed to come in, and then our show needed to touch a computer. But before that, yeah, it's 100% on the phone, which became, you know, a crash course in getting things up and out the door quickly, and letting them not be 100%. Or not being perfectionistic about it.
Sure.
You know, because at the end of the day, we have a deadline, and that's Brian, you know, get you know, just get this on YouTube, and we're, you know, kicking each other in the shins, you know, to just get it up and out. But that's a good exercise, because, I mean, I was sitting at like Starbucks, I think, the other day, and like there was this girl having a conversation with this dude about acting, and he was like, well, what are you doing for your own career? And she was like, I'm sitting at home waiting for the phone to ring because I'm, you know, making myself available. And it's just, that's just not how it works anymore.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, like, really with anything, like nothing kind of comes to you these days. There's just too much noise out there. So like it just becomes really important to get your own stuff up and out, and rather than belabor about it and like make it perfect and, you know, on a first go, let's just figure out what we want to do, take the audience on a journey with us. We're going to go on a journey with them, and we're going to be loose about it.
Yeah, there was a video circulating online, and basically the gist of it was just get it done, because no matter what, a year from now you're going to look back at it and think that you're better at it now than you were then. And perfection isn't the goal. Finished is the goal. And that's a comic book, a movie, whatever. And it sounds to me like that was kind of the lesson you took away from it as well.
Yeah, done is always better than perfect. I can't say who said that, but it's a quote. If you Google it, you'll come up with quotes. You know, like I just really learned the value of like, let's just get it up and out the door, and not belabor about it, because there's just too many things, you know, that people want to do that never get done. So let's get this one done, and then, you know, and then we can come back and say, here's what we didn't do, here's what we want to do, and maybe do it, quote unquote, the right way. There's many ways to the party. You just got to get to the party. And the last 4 years, like, I personally haven't really been in the party because I've been doing something else. So I'd rather, it's a kind of thing where, like, I'd rather ask for forgiveness than permission. I'm going to do this. Yeah.
No, that's pretty good. So this is a spot, I guess, where we can talk about how your social, what do you call it, social media presence, along with your acting background, kind of help you create Sibs, because at least the first couple episodes are about your brother trying to become Instagram famous.
Yeah. Brian, we just kind of worked in it. Brian had a need for fame, and the most, the way that people kind of think about that today is to be be a YouTube star, be an Instagram star, be an Instagram model, or have a million followers on Snapchat. That's just kind of how people think about it. And that's the world that I know. So it was very easy for me to bring the audience into it that way. And plus our show was going to live on YouTube. So rather than here's our, third wall show that you look into and we don't care about you, let's add the audience into the show and let's, make it fun for people rather than watch our stuff,
Yeah. Well, yeah, because, you do have a more participational show. I have to ask, because I keep using the term web series, and I'm starting to think that term doesn't really have any meaning anymore. We've gotten to the point where with a low budget and very little this, that, and the other, you can find as many followers as you want, really, as long as you're willing to put some elbow grease into it. This is the direction things are going, don't you think?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, don't get you wrong. If your idea sucks, no one's coming to the party. Not whether you have a business, an idea, or you suck at sales, or your web series sucks. I think people still gravitate towards good work. But again, the problem, it's never been easier to create things as it is right now. So there's no reason not to. Mm-hmm. However, because there's so much noise out there, there's so much content being created. Your task, as an artist, as an actor, as a podcaster, as anything that has to live on the internet, is to break through that noise and find your people, find your audience, and that becomes part of your work as an actor too.
Well, I would say in this day and age, because we're not under the Hollywood system, and again, keep in mind, this is me talking from the from the outside in at this point, but you'll know as well as I do. As a salesman, I always say, until you get out there and shake a hand and make a commitment and make personal contact with somebody, nothing has happened. And
it's true.
And moving content, I hate using that fucking word, but moving something artistic like a movie or anything these days, you still have to get out and sell, right?
Oh yeah. Yeah, it's still all about, anything you do is all about relationships, especially now, because sales has changed. You're in sales, right? You sell every day.
Yep.
Okay. So everything, it becomes very important to be a salesman, in this day and age. But the role of the salesman has changed because, again, I can go find. We live in a time where you can look up anything that you want and find all the information you need. We no longer really need the salesman to talk about, to just inform you about the product. So personal relationships, trust becomes more important than it ever was, because there's so much out there. There's so much choice.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that is just going to increase as the future comes upon us.
Yeah.
In every field. Like me, I sell plumbing to plumbing contractors. There's 10 billion companies doing the same thing with the same product line, and you have to get out there. Now I'd say that you still need to know your product better. Like you will say with your show, when you're addressing somebody, you got to be able to tell them quickly and in an interesting way, hey, check my show out. It's this, and here's what you'll like about it. Mm-hmm. So you still got to have the information at your fingertips. You still got to have your rap down and be ready to go. So what do you do? Give me some ideas, some of the things you've done to get the word out about Sibs.
Mainly mainly our game was social media. Mm-hmm. And marketing, working through relationships with like that, some influencer relationships. We did as many podcasts, interviews, blogs, and things as we could do this season. Being that we carried everything, wrote everything, shot everything, and that took a lot of time, marketed everything. But really, social media has been like our catalyst.
Your go-to device.
Yeah.
So you're done with season 1 now.
We're done.
And apparently you guys angered all of the country of Canada in the process.
Yeah, we did. We got kicked out of Canada, and we did our last 2 episodes. We had to save the world from Canada. So we did our LA screening of Sibs in August. So we put together a short film style version of our finale episodes, which was called Super Secret Canadian Spy Movie. And we'll release that as its own thing soon. But now we're looking towards season 2, and as much as I loved the way that season 1 went and the freedom it kind of gave, we're definitely going to keep what we loved about season 1, and we're going to make a bigger, better Sibs.
Okay. I mean, can you give us any idea what sort of changes you're going to make, or are you playing that pretty close to the vest?
We may be bringing in a lot of new team members.
Okay.
We may be bringing in a lot of new cast. And we're going to kind of blow out that world, and we are going to write it, and we're going to have a written season 2, and it will be released a lot differently than this. But what we love about Sibs, the mock vlog style, and the sibling relationships, that'll all stay.
Okay.
But it will definitely take a little bit longer to get that out the door.
Well, yeah, you're talking about having a crew and a complete stylistic difference. Exactly, that will slow you down. But that's okay, because I personally, and now's the point in the episode where I just kiss the butt of the guest a little bit, but I found your show to be really, really funny. I thought
Thank you.
You were both equally charming and despicable at the same time.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. I wouldn't be afraid to give that description, except I have a feeling that's probably what you're shooting for.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's kind of how I live as a human being.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all right, because you do it with a smile and with love, and we all appreciate that.
With love in my heart, yeah.
So I got to know a little bit here. How much of you, Kimberly Niccole, is in your character, Kimberly Niccole?
We get this question a lot of how much of this series kind of bleeds over from real life, and it does and it doesn't. Brian and I obviously have a fun relationship, and there's some elements of my character Kim has a bloodlust. Some fan coined it bloodlust. Now I love to fight. I did karate for many years. I love to fight. That's how I roll as a human being. I'll always, I still faux punch my brother, and sometimes I actually hit him. You know what I mean? It's fun for me. So in the series, Kim has this bloodlust, and she can't see a fight. She can't see any kind of altercation, or she just goes red like a rabid animal. So it kind of bleeds over there, and obviously we take it to the nth degree. Our parents are lovely people in real life. They don't hate us. In the show, they hate us. We have a conversation with our mom, and we're just our mom wants us to die, and our dad is just you're a huge disappointment throughout the whole show. Our grandmother thinks we're both I'm sorry, I was going to swear, but I won't.
No, you can. I already dropped the F-bomb once, so that seal's broken.
All right. So, my grandmother thinks, Brian's an asshole and I'm, stupid. So, obviously, we have a bit more supportive family than that, but it's kind of taking what's already there and just pushing it to, the absolutely ridiculous as we can.
Yeah, you're just dialed up to 12, basically.
Yeah. We met a Canadian once. Now we're saving the world from Canada. You know what I mean? Taking it and pushing it as ridiculous as we can.
That's really cool. So how are people responding to your show so far? I mean, people loving it? What has been your response to it?
Well, good, thank God.
Yeah.
I think like we're still a small channel. We have about 8,000 followers across social media, and our first season did about 100,000 views between all of its platforms.
Mm-hmm.
So that's very small. It's a small channel. So I think, had we, had 1 million views on the first show, then you get more haters. It's just the nature of it.
Yeah.
I think like the only like the worst comment I got, like personally was more like physical. It's like, chick has a big nose. Every video we release, that chick has a huge nose. I'm like, I do. I do. It's a thing.
It's all right.
But most people, nobody's come in, and we also were upfront about what we were doing. We're shooting on an iPhone 7 Plus. We're releasing in 24 hours, and we have an improv-based show. So we're also not trying to be more than we were. Now we're going to go after making it a bigger, better show. We wanted to make sure that what we were going to do was going to work for an audience. And it found it's a little bit of an audience, and people liked it. So that was kind of our real life beta test.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You ever notice those guys that chime in with those like shitty personal insults or like not doing anything themselves?
Yeah, I definitely got that from like my own personal camp. I definitely we saw you do Anna Karenina to a Weepy House, and you're doing Sibs, and it's like, you know what though? Like at the end of the day, like, and especially as I get, not that I'm an old person, but like as I get older, like, man, boy, do sometimes I just want to be entertained.
Mm-hmm.
And there's value in that. And so, like, to just put on something that you don't have to think too much about, our show's not going to change your life.
Nope.
It's not going to make you think about things in a deeper way, but it'll make you laugh.
Yeah. And I think that's fair because it is harder to find things that are just lighthearted and fun now. And you're right. I'm going to make a complaint about something that I'm actually happy about. There's so much good television and movies and web series and this, that, and the other now. There's not time to watch everything. I mean, what a difficult time to be alive, So it is hard. It is hard to get the right eyeballs on you at all times. I remember, like, when I was trying to explain to my dad about having a podcast, he's like, so I can listen to it on the radio? And I'm like, you know what, just never mind, forget it. We're not going to get into that.
My dad said the same thing.
Yeah. So what channel are you on?
So your show's on the FaceTube? I was like, what? What are you talking about? What's the FaceTube?
Oh,
is that a Facebook YouTube hybrid?
Oh, that's hilarious.
On
FaceTube. I love stuff like that. Yeah, but I can certainly agree. So, Kim, what else you got going on these days? Anything you want to tell us about before we let you go?
Yeah, I have a couple of projects in the work right now, a couple of producing projects, and I just, I don't know if I could talk about that one yet. Sorry. And
you're on the new Star Wars movie. That's what you're talking about, huh?
I am not in the new Star Wars movie. I'm pretty sure they wouldn't appreciate it if I said it was. Or am I?
Dun, dun, dun.
But, and then we're in the beginning stages of continuing to, like, hunker down and, choose our team for season 2. So that's taking some time right now, too.
That's going to be huge. I mean, will you guys come back on when you're ready to tell us more about season 2?
Definitely.
Yeah, it's been a lot of fun chatting with you. It's been a lot of fun watching your show. I'm actually, when I get done talking to you, I'm going to go finish watching the last couple episodes in your super secret Canadian spy movie.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, I if you have a liking towards the ridiculous, we push it further than the beginning stuff.
I love it.
I think you'll like it.
Yeah. Why don't you go ahead and let's go through your social media addresses and website addresses and where people can find you on the Google Tubes.
On the Google Tubes. Okay, so if if you haven't seen Sibs and you like ridiculous stuff, our ridiculous comedy web series lives on YouTube, and it's at youtube.com/Sibs web series. Twitter, Instagram, same Sibs web series. Just, Facebook, type that stuff in. Sibs web series will come up. And then you can also check us out on our website at sibsthewebseries.com.
All right. Well, thank you very much. I do appreciate you coming on. And, everybody else, catch us at geekishcast.com. We're on Facebook at facebook.com/geekishcast. And I tweet from @thegeekishcast. I am on Instagram, but all you see are like my beer pictures and sometimes pictures of my dog. So that's really up to you if you want to follow me there or not. I take a lot of pictures of beer, though, but I do end up with some interesting beers.
I love this.
Yeah. Kim, thank you very much.
Awesome. Thanks for having me.
Geekish Cast is a V as in Victor production and is part of the Astro Panda Productions Network. You can find us now on SoundCloud and on Blog Talk Radio. Our theme music is taken from the song Out to Get Mine by Reign of Zeus. Check them out at reignofzeus.net.